Hello, I'm Sketches.n.Scrubs. Thank you for tuning into this video. I make art tutorials, paint-alongs and vlogs and release them weekly. In this video, I'm going to be giving some gouache tips by going through a speed painting that I did. I felt that this one, there was a lot going wrong with it, as you can see from the screenshots above. So I kind of thought that it would be more helpful to kind of go through it together rather than doing it as a tutorial, just to show you how to fix mistakes that may happen, and essentially what I did wrong and how I fixed it. This is a snippet of the other two, which you can find in the links above. So in terms of do's and don'ts, do have an underpainting, so just a flat wash that you do underneath to kind of really highlight the colors later on. But don't do what I did, which is make it very thick. With gouache, you want to start with a thin layer and then build up, so less water and more paint as you progress. I think what I did here, which made blending a bit difficult later on, is just started all thick, just trying to have all the same consistency, which can make it a bit difficult to blend. So remember, start thin and then work your way thick. Then the other thing that I would recommend is to have a good idea of your tones. Where is the light coming from? Where are your darkest areas? Where are your brightest areas? And if you do that, then you won't get into this mess where I'm getting, where you kind of lose track of that and end up turning the painting very flat. And a way to check if that is happening is if you were to take a picture of your work and then turn it into black and white, so really desaturate it, then you can kind of see if you have your tones in the correct areas or if the whole thing looks kind of flat. Even if you have different colors, are your tones correct? Are your shadows and bright areas defined? And you can kind of see in the screenshot that I'm going to insert here that initially at this point mine weren't, but towards the end they get there. Another thing that I found that is not a must do, but one thing that I found very helpful, is to use the flat brush or the bright brush to help with blending. With gouache, you can reactivate it with water, so if you do add too much and you're doing layers, then you just end up reactivating the layers underneath instead of kind of creating a smooth finish over the top. So staying on the theme of layering with gouache, things that you need to know are to use watercolor paper so that it can really tolerate and it doesn't break away, which is the difficulty that I was having with acrylic paper, and also to remember to let the gouache dry before you layer on top of it, unless you want to either reactivate the layer underneath or kind of cause the colors blending into each other like watercolor would in a wet on wet technique. So if you're doing that deliberately, then that's fine, but if that's not what you want, then you really want to wait for the area to dry, which might mean that you kind of go back and forth. So that's what I was doing here with the eyebrows. I painted brown underneath first, and then I waited for them to dry before going over it in black. So the saving grace of this piece was that gouache is very forgiving. You can layer it to correct previous mistakes. You can blend. And that is essentially what I did. I went back and I just kept working and working at the skin, and you know, taking a moment to stop and actually figure out where are the shadows, where are the bright areas, and plan out my painting a bit better after I had started. And I used these lessons in making the rest of the portraits. So although I didn't feel I was in a position to make a tutorial from this portrait, it did teach me a lot, and I did get a lot of tips from it, which I've shown in my other tutorials that you should watch if you haven't done so already. So I hope that you have learned as much from all the do's and don'ts that I did in this video as I learned from actually painting this piece. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. As always, any feedback is very much welcome. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Until next week, bye.